Running just a bit late. But we're getting there. It's Tuesday. It's 26th. We're, what, 2 days away from Thanksgiving here in America. Hope you guys will have a peaceful holiday. Spend time with family. Sometimes those are two opposing forces, right? Um, peaceful holiday and spending time with family. Sometimes, some families. Doesn't have to be, though. Leads us, I think, maybe into what we're going to be talking about today. Give me 1 second and I'll bring it up. The ego, who we believe we are, the concept, the conceptual belief in who we are, but we're not, we'll never find peace. Ego is not designed to find peace. The ego is designed to self-perpetuate its perception of existence, meaning that it only exists by perception. When you see through perception, you see through the ego. You don't care if it's present, you don't care if it's there, you don't care if it's exerting itself, but you just don't believe in it. You don't take things so seriously. The great mantra, Ata Kim. It's a mantra I entirely made up, by the way, but it is Sanskrit. Ata, A-T-A-H-K-I-M, means so what? You just don't take life quite so serious anymore. Doesn't require your attention, doesn't mean that you don't take care in how you treat other people or yourself. It means you see through the illusion of the perceptions to the reality that everything is perfect love. We can translate perfect love to God or consciousness or reality. It's all the same thing. Or the Tao. Some people just don't like saying God. Leaves a bad taste in the mouth, I guess. And I can understand. Give me a second, guys. I went to Catholic school. No one understands the forced misconception of God upon another than someone who has attended a Catholic school, that's for sure. All right, just give me a second, guys. Taking care of a couple things. I'm going to bring up the desktop. I was going to say laptop. I no longer own a laptop. And we're going to read from Course in Miracles. So here's, if the ego's not designed for peace of mind, does that mean peace is impossible? No. Because again, we're not the ego. That's not who we are. So in letting go, hey, easy. In letting go of the ego, we return to reality. And we don't have to fight the ego. We just need to recognize it. And we just need to learn to smile at it. It's not who we are. If it's not who we are, we can afford to smile. Liken the ego to a 2-year-old child who has just now discovered everything is mine. Everything is mine. This is mine, that's mine, 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 mine. That's the ego. You guys have listened to the Beatles' Let It Be? It's a great album. But I recommend getting the remastered version, which is Let It Be Stripped. The producer, Phil Spector, not a fan. He built what he called the wall of sound. And Let It Be was one of his first experiments with the wall of sound. Hey, Ryan. Ryan says, caught you early, Yogi. Good morning. Good morning to you. The wall of sound was designed to cram every bit of sound within the silence between notes that makes a song. A good music, good song, has to allow the quietness that's found in between every note to exist. If you cram a noise in between that space, it's not music any longer. It's not the universe, the one verse. It's just noise. Let's see, Midnight Rider 429 says, hey my friend, how are you? Ryan says, my ego unchecked has left me in the open every single time. Absolutely. But we don't need to fight it. A lot of times when we recognize that, we want to introduce a battle. Well, I'm going to force the ego to obey me. That's just more ego fighting ego. All we got to do is smile, shrug our shoulders. So what? It's just the ego. Anyway, the Let It Be album. George Harrison wrote a song called I, Me, Mine. All through the day, all through the night. I, me, mine, I, me, mine, I, me, mine. That's the ego. And he wrote it about the ego. Ego is always saying I and me and mine. The great Sufi poet, Rumi, said I, me, they, them. These are terms that don't exist within the garden of the mystics. Mystic just doesn't recognize those terms. Midnight Rider says, good, you? I'm doing good, my friend. Doing good. So, if the ego isn't designed for peace, which it isn't, how do we attain peace? Hello, Sabine. How are you? How is everything with you guys? So, the peace of God. Sabine says, good morning, chat. Midnight Rider says, what you and Randy talking about? We're talking about the ego. And we're talking about peace of mind and how the ego is simply not designed to achieve peace of mind, because peace of mind isn't an achievement, it's a recognition. All we can do is recognize it, and when we recognize it, we sink within it. Sabine says, so la la. What do you mean, Sabine? But here's what the Course in Miracles says in the teacher's manual. It has been said that there is a kind of peace that is not of this world. How is it recognized? How is it found? And being found, how can it be retained? Let us consider each of these questions separately, for each reflect a different step along the way. So, there's a peace beyond the ego. Oh, Speed says, could be better. I understand. I know this is a tough time for you guys. Sabine, you and Timo, been in my prayers. Know how difficult this has to be for Timo. So, first, how can the peace of God be recognized? God's peace of mind is recognized at first by just one thing. In every way, it is totally unlike all previous experiences. Remember, replace the word God with the Tao, or with love, or with reality, the universe, whatever term, consciousness, whatever term works best for you. It's only in the past couple years that I've reconciled using the word God. I used to sort of rebel against it. Tandra says, hey Yogi, hey Tandra, how are you? Always appreciate Tandra coming in. One, because I like Tandra, and I enjoy seeing her and having her company. But two, it reminds me to bring her channel up for the day for some watch hours. Sean says, hey Eric, I have an update on the funeral plan. We're going to have a private funeral with cremation, burnt to ashes. Let's see. I think a private ceremony, private funeral, just brings everyone closer, it seems. It's a good decision, Sean. My prayers are with you, my friend. Let's see. Hi, Anne Frank's sibling. Well, 5 o'clock in the morning, and we have an Anne Frank joke. Sweet says, hi to Tandra. Midnight Rider says, you look and sound like my dad, and say the same stuff, and act the same. Well, Your dad sounds like a very wise guy. Wise man. Of course, that's a pat on my own back there. Tanya says, thanks, Yogi. Thank you. Well, good. Let's see. Hi says, I hate the Monkees. The band? Actually, a really good band. That would be a shame to hate the Monkees. I would urge you to revisit them. Michael Nesmith, I think, might have been a musical genius. And without Michael Nesmith, we wouldn't have country rock. He actually was one of the first people to blend country and rock together. Pretty amazing. Easy says, hi, please be respectful. Thank you, Easy. And let's see. Tandra says, Sean, thoughts are with you. Thank you, Tandra. So, the peace of God, which is our original peace of mind, who we are, can be recognized at first by one thing. In every way, it is totally unlike all previous experiences because it's not an experience. It's the same thing that I teach in meditation. When you slip into the gap, that place of silence between every thought, it can't be an experience because there is no thing occurring that makes it an experience. So it calls to mind nothing that went before. It brings with it no past associations. It is a new thing entirely. There's a contrast, yes, between this thing and the past, but strangely, it is not a contrast of true differences. The past just slips away, and in its place is an everlasting quiet. Only that the contrast first perceived has merely gone. Quiet has reached to cover everything. So, there is a peace of God, and it is our peace, and it is found only in the present moment. But we need to keep returning to the present moment. The mind is always going to want to slip to the past, project in the future. So we just keep returning. And this is what the Course continues with. So how is this peace found? How is quiet found? No one can fail to find it, who but seeks out its conditions. God's peace can never come where anger is, for anger must deny that peace exists. Who sees anger as justified in any way or any circumstance proclaims that peace is meaningless, and must believe that it cannot exist. In this condition, peace cannot be found. Therefore, forgiveness is the necessary condition for finding the peace of God. More than this, given forgiveness, there must be peace. Given forgiveness, there must be peace. For what except attack will lead to war? And what but peace is opposite to war? Here the initial contrast stands out clear and apparent. Yet when peace is found, the war is meaningless. And it is conflict now that is perceived as non-existent and unreal. It is conflict now that is perceived as non-existent and unreal. So, peace is reality. Anything that is not of peace is simply a manifestation of fear, and fear is an illusion. So when we experience fear, we don't fight it, we don't shove it away, we simply see through it. And the way we see through it is forgiveness. The reason why forgiveness is so hard is because it's asking the ego to give up an illusion that is deeply, deeply felt and experienced. However, peace isn't an experience, it's the ever-present reality that allows for all experiences to manifest. Peace is the fabric of reality. Conflict is simply an appearance within the fabric of reality. It's not the essence in and of itself. Forgiveness says, look past that which is unreal back to reality. And it's difficult until we do it. And then we experience the peace of God, true peace of mind, and we relax and we think, why would I have anything different than this? Why would I want anything other than peace when peace is always present? catch up with the chat, and then I'll continue. Easy says, I need to dedicate more time to the course. I've been slacking on my reading. Hey, Easy, I think later today, I'm going to, on my channel, my membership, dedicate one little section to reading a lesson a day from the course. We'll start with the first one, and we'll work through. Let me know what you think of that. Midnight Rider says, I'm going to bed. Good night. Good night, my friend. Thanks for coming in. Sean says, I'm watching you and having a shave at the same time. Multitasking. Easy says, I would absolutely love that. Okay, look for it later this afternoon. So how is the peace of God retained once it's found? Returning anger in whatever form will drop the heavy curtain once again, and the belief that peace cannot exist will certainly return. War is again accepted as one reality. Now must you once again lay down your sword, although you not recognize that you have picked it up again. But you will learn, as you remember even faintly, that happiness was yours without it. Happiness was yours without that sword of anger. Stop for a moment now and think of this. Is conflict what you want? Or is God's peace of mind the better choice? Do you feel better, happier, when you're angry, when you're attacking, when you have resentment and guilt? Or do you feel better when you have the peace of mind, peace of God? And then just choose. So, that is the peace of God. This holiday season, not always easy to attain. Here's the thing with anger. It's not an enemy. It's not something that we need to fight. Hey, the Incredible Bulk is here. Says, so guys, hope you all are well. I am well. My friend, how are you? Appreciate you stopping in and saying hi. When we experience anger, it's a tool. We get to recognize it and say, I would rather experience peace than this. And then we use that anger to return back to our peace of mind. It's a useful energy. In Tantric Buddhism, Tantric Yoga, we take the base energy of anything that's occurring and we transform it to a higher state of consciousness. So everything is fuel for the fire. Anger, jealousy, resentment, guilt is all fuel to return to love, meaning that we just recognize it as that which we don't want, and we return to that which we do want. And it's a simple choice, and it's really the only choice that we have. I can have peace instead of this. I can choose God instead of this. I can love instead of this. Easy said, I think people feel better when they retaliate against others in the moment, then deeply regret it later. The satisfaction of anger is so temporary. It is temporary. Good point. Excellent insight. And even when you do it, you don't actually feel better. You think you do. The thing with it, here's probably my all-time favorite line from A Course in Miracles, because it relates so well to Buddhism as well as yoga philosophy. The one wholly true thing that one can say about the past is that it's not here. Anything of anger, any retaliation is all based upon the past, and the past is not here. We always think the past as distant, but anything that is not happening in this very moment is the past, including the future. The future is simply a projection of the past. All we have, all that exists, is the present moment. Ram Dass, the great yogi, wrote his book, Be Here Now. Wonderful book, by the way. as is everything Ram Dass wrote. Be here now. I always wish he wrote a sequel that says, because there is nowhere else you can ever truly be. We are already here, and it's already now. Everything you seek, peace of mind, happiness, joy, the peace of God, enlightenment, awakening, is already here right now. If you drop the past, if you no longer project in the future, if you just open your heart right now for an instant, because an instant is all we have. That's it. It's over. The search is over. No more seeking. However, no more seeking doesn't mean no more practice, because the practice is the reality of the thing itself. Forgiveness is a practice, and forgiveness is awakening. I've been mentioning Dogen. Dogen is a great Japanese Zen master who propagated meditation quite a bit. And he was asked, does meditation lead to awakening? Does it lead to enlightenment? And he said no, which shocked so many of his followers. Then why are we meditating if we're not going to be awakened? And his answer was, meditation is awakening. It is enlightenment. Meaning you don't meditate to get something. Meditation is the thing itself. Meditation is awakening. We can sum that up also. Forgiveness is awakening. We don't forgive to get something. That's just bargaining. Forgiveness is enlightenment. So our practice is the realization. If you want to be happy, practice happiness. If you want to be at peace, practice peace, because peace is the thing itself. If you want to be enlightened, forgive. Moment by moment by moment by moment. Forgiveness isn't a bargaining tool. It isn't saying, I will forgive when you feel bad enough and I see it. It isn't saying, I forgive you for what you did to me, or I will forgive you when I'm ready. Forgiveness is seeing through the illusion of time. That in this present moment, all I have, all that's present, is the presence itself. Forgiveness is seeing through the illusion. The ego never wants to see anything but the illusion, because the illusion is what it bases its existence upon. The ego is a misconception, a misperception of who we are. It's not who we are. But as long as the ego has anger or resentment or an issue, it will exist. When we let it go, when we return to the present moment, when we forgive, we're back. Easy says, my girlfriend and I had a deep convo about the universe being alive. She asked, so is this pillow alive? And I said, yes, because it's made of the same protons that we are. Silly explanation, but I think it's true. The truest explanations always seem silly to the ego. But as you said, it's how things are. It has to be alive because there's only life. There's only life. Nothing exists outside of the mind. Nothing. Can you see a pillow outside of the mind? Can you perceive a pillow outside of the mind? And when you let perception go, the pillow simply exists as an extension of the mind itself. Life. Easy says, I truly think everything in God's universe is alive. I agree. It's just life. Reality. And even when we let go of the concept of the universe, we see there's just life. There's just God. We can't even say God's universe, as there's no universe without God. There's no God without universe. There just is. There's just this. There's just this. This is why in the Hebrew tradition, they say God is, and then they stop. Because anything that precedes that is simply a description. It's already included. We don't need to say God is a pillow. We just say God is, and we can hold up the pillow. This is why Buddha in his silent discourse didn't say a single word. And towards the end, he held out a single flower. And only one person in that mass of people understood what he was saying and accepted the flower and instantly became enlightened. The universe is always holding out that single flower. All we have to do is accept it in silence, and we get it. Easy says she had a hard time understanding what is meant to the world being an illusion. How would you recommend me explain it to her? How would you recommend me explaining it to her? It's a good question. Let me think about that. How do we explain that the world is an illusion? An illusion doesn't mean we don't experience it. That's where we have the confusion. Because I know this desk as a solid entity. I can put my coffee cup on it, and I do every morning. My desktop, I sit here and I write every morning. And yet, if I were to take a nuclear microscope, very powerful microscope, and examine it, first off, if I took it apart, it wouldn't be a desk. It would just simply be parts. And if I didn't have instructions, if I didn't recognize it, would I even recognize it as a potential for a desk? It only becomes a potentiality for a desk when I can look at it in a non-abstract way and think, oh, if I put this piece here and this piece there, it becomes a desk. Now, if I took each piece of the desk and looked at it through that powerful microscope, I would see that it's a collection of molecules. And if I looked at those molecules, I would see that it is a collection of atoms. If I looked at the atoms, I would see that it is particles. And if I look deeper still, I would see that the particles themselves don't even really exist except in potentiality. Until they are observed, there's nothingness. Particle or wave. Is it a particle or is it a wave? It's both until something absorbs it, and then it's solidified into a particle. But until then, it only exists as potentiality, nothingness, space. If we are a collection of molecules and atoms and particles and that wave particle potentiality, then everything is really just an illusion, potentiality. But we can realize it on a more personal level as everything that we see is a projection of the mind. Simply a projection. It's a perception. When we're asleep, deep sleep, not a dream, would exist. And we can say, well, the world simply exists because I wake up to it. But when you're asleep, that deep sleep, does anything exist in your mind? Or does it exist as a potentiality for you to wake up? What do you think? What do you think? That's the big thing. What exists when you're not thinking? Easy says, very true. Even quantum mechanics superposition says that nothing exists unless it's observed. Potentiality is a perfect explanation. It also is a wonderful tool of manifestation. That which you would like to achieve. The perfect bass note, the perfect bass line, the perfect expression of the easy playing, the bass, it already exists in pure potentiality. You just need to bring it into existence. Everything exists as pure potentiality. Everything, we are the witness, the observer, the nothingness. And we get an entire illusory universe to play in, to create whatever life we want. Most of us don't know how powerful we are. So we keep creating the world that exists the same day in, day out. This is why sometimes I'm asked, Why did God create a world in which children are allowed to starve, in which there's violence? Why did God create a world where war happens continuously? And the answer is God did not create a world where children are allowed to starve. We did, by our thoughts. If we didn't have the thought of war, if that thought did not exist in our head, what would we have right now? The sacred baseline. I love it. The sacred baseline. Imagine that. If we woke up one morning and the thought of starving children didn't even exist, and we looked around at all the food that we have in the world, and we thought, let's feed people. But we think that that's just the way it is. It's okay. We actually believe that it's okay for children to go to bed starving, not just hungry, but starving. And the proof that we think that is that it exists. And yet, we produce enough food in a single day, in a single county, in a single state, to feed every single child. And yet we don't, because we think it's okay that we don't. How do we change that? It seems so huge. We change it by simply changing our own belief, letting it go. We heal the world by healing ourselves. We establish peace in the world by establishing peace within ourselves, one person at a time. Be the candle that lights the larger flame. Easy says, quite frankly, we could end suffering if we put our thoughts into actually accomplishing it. I spent so much time questioning God and not the man in the mirror. And the man in the mirror doesn't even exist. It's a reflection. You've never actually seen the wonderful teachings of The Headless Way by Douglas Harding. Changed my life. Single beyond anything, the thing that changed my life instantly. You've never seen your own face. You've never seen your own head. It doesn't even exist. You've never seen it. You've seen a reflection, but you're not a reflection. You've seen a photograph, but you're not a photograph. You've heard descriptions, but you're not a description. You yourself has never seen your own head. If you look in this direction, not at your fingers, if you point and you look, what do you see? If I look right now, it's going to look weird. If I look right now, I see the tips of glasses. I see a tip of a nose. But where does that emerge from? Absolute emptiness. Absolute emptiness existing right now already. And yet, in this absolute emptiness exists the pure potentiality for Eric to come into being. Not just that, from this emptiness, and if I look at you, that's my face. My face is your emerging in my consciousness. In your consciousness, my face is emerging as yours, and yet it's only one consciousness. We are space existing for each other. Easy says, why is it so scary to accept that we don't exist? I struggle so long with that. Well, we exist as pure existence, but we don't exist as a thought. We don't exist as a concept. We don't exist as a personality or as a ego. It's all conceptual. We exist as that pure awareness for everything to come. It's just like, I love going back to the example of the ocean and the wave. The wave is a pure, wonderful, distinct expression of the ocean itself, and yet it's never separate from the ocean. And when it'll crest, and then it falls. When it falls, does it cease to exist? Or is it just simply the ocean again? And it will come again as another wave and another wave. Does that mean that we reincarnate as another wave? Does a wave reincarnate, or just it simply appear? Does it offer an appearance? This is why Alan Watts said, as a tree branches and the ocean waves, the universe peoples, or the universe selves, selves. So the universe appears as a squirrel, perfect, and the universe appears, waves, as easy, and as Eric, and as someone else, and as someone else, but it always returns back to the ocean. We are the ocean. We're not simply a wave, because the wave is never separate from the ocean. So when you know that you are the perfect expression of easy, but you're also the ocean, you're also the universe itself, your existence itself, you deeply, deeply enjoy the experience of being the unique expression, the wave, because you know that you're also the source of the wave itself. You are easy, and you are the source that allows easy to be expressed. So it's a beautiful dichotomy. This is why the Heart Sutra, the Buddhist Heart Sutra, emptiness is form. Form is emptiness. The operative word is. It doesn't say that emptiness becomes form, or that form reverts back to emptiness. It's one and the same thing right now. Emptiness is form right now. Form is emptiness. This desk is emptiness right now, even though I stub my toe on it every couple of days. Easy says, I'm so grateful to be the wave connected to the ocean. Absolutely. And you know what? It's beyond connection. You're not even connected. You are. You are the ocean, waving. And it is beautiful. And it does lead to this deep sense of gratefulness. You are given this unique moment to be a wave, to be the perfect easy, playing the bass. The entire universe exists so that easy can play the bass right now. How can you not be grateful for that? The entire universe exists so I can have this conversation. How can I not be grateful for that? It also exists for me to go outside and take my walk, and that's what I'm going to do. Man, I love this conversation. Easy. Thank you so much. Perfect. And I'm grateful. All right, guys. I'm heading outside. Easy says, have a great walk, Eric. Thank you, Easy. Hope to see you later. I hope to see a new video soon. You've inspired me to listen more and more to the bass line of every song, Easy. Ryan says, have a good day, Yogi. Thank you, Ryan. You too, my friend. All right, guys. Hey, our friend Sabine and Timo going through a difficult time. If you guys can offer some prayer to them, please. Also, today is Jason's birthday. He's doing 1,000 reps right now. The Holy Grail, 1,000 burpees. So happy birthday. Cheer him on, help him count. Jacob's doing 1,000 reps too. For no other reason other than he's Jacob, and that's what he does. Pretty awesome. So maybe I'll see you guys over there. Take care, guys. Take care. Sorry. Nothing's coming out right. Jason's in absolute killer shape. It's insane. He is insane. 51 years old as of today. So if you get the chance, maybe when I come back later today, I'll be able to speak better. Right now, I find myself smiling and laughing, and the words just aren't coming out, which means I need to be quiet and just go out and take my walk. Thanks, guys.